As with every year, Apple has introduced a lot of interesting new products and made its mark on the tech industry in 2018, but could they have done better? Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and it's hard to believe it's basically 2019 to be honest. Time seems to speed up every year, but here we are. Apple has done quite a few things in 2018, obviously, so let's go over them. And kind of at the end of the video, we'll talk about whether or not this was a good year for Apple or a bad year. But first, before we get into that, we do have a quick word from today's sponsor, Dr. Phone. Right now, you can get Dr. Phone from as low as $9.99, allowing you to back up data on your iPhone or Android and fix various system issues that iTunes is kind of annoying with. This sale isn't lasting very long, just till the end of 2018, so make sure you jump on it now while you can. Link at the top of the description below. Huge thanks to Dr. Phone for sponsoring this video, and with that, let's get right back into talking about Apple. First off, what did we see that was new this year? I'm going to list everything, I think. If I missed anything, let me know. There's probably a couple things here and there I will miss, but I think I have all the big products here. First, in February of 2018, we had the HomePod. The HomePod is probably the best quality smart speaker out there in terms of sound, but it's also extremely expensive. It is also pretty limited with Siri, and so honestly, I can't see myself ever buying one. If it's something you want, that's great, but I think for the most part, it was a bit of a letdown, especially since Google had just released the Google Home Mini for like $50. And sure, the sound quality is not even close, but the Google Assistant is significantly more capable than Siri, and Apple's speaker costed $350. Again, there's a huge quality disparity there, but Apple's is just too expensive in my opinion. I think they need to make a budget option. It would probably sell like hotcakes. But on the other hand, we did get Apple's best ad of the year out of it, so that was pretty neat. Moving to March of 2018, we have the iPad. The 9.7-inch iPad is hopefully becoming a staple for Apple. We saw one in 2017 and now again in 2018, and probably will get another one next year. The cheap iPad is, in my opinion, Apple's best valued product out there. It's a fully capable iPad that's compatible with the Apple Pencil and has the A10 chipset. You really can't complain for $330. An absolutely insanely good starting price. This is the iPad most people should buy. Although don't buy it right now because again, Apple probably will upgrade it in March. Then in July of 2018, we have the MacBook Pro. Apple upgraded the Touch Bar MacBook Pro. While I wish they also upgraded the non-Touch Bar model, they still did a pretty good job here of bringing quad-core processors all across the board. In my opinion, as someone who just bought one, MacBook Pros are overpriced. I know, hot take, but they're still probably the best laptop most people can buy, and Apple did a good job of improving the keyboard and overall experience this year. Now, if only they can improve that price. In September of 2018, we had a ton of new products, but first let's talk about software with iOS 12. I think Apple hit it out of the park with iOS 12. It's really, really good. Not perfect, but, well, comparing it to iOS 11, it seems pretty perfect. iOS 11 was a disaster. It had so many darn bugs, especially at launch, and 12 has fixed nearly all of them. It's the least buggy iOS experience I've had in years, and it actually feels faster on older phones. I don't think any other update has ever sped up iPhones, but Apple did it this year, and it's amazing. We also saw watchOS 5 and Mojave for macOS. Both are incremental upgrades and are fine. Don't really have much to add here. Mojave's dark mode on Mac is amazing, and hopefully we see it on iOS pretty soon. But otherwise, yeah, Apple did okay for those as well. The Apple Watch Series 4 was of course released this year in September, and it's stunning. The near bezel-less design leaves for one amazing looking product, and it's essentially perfect. It looks great, it's fast, and so on. This is by far the best smartwatch you can buy, not that there's much competition nowadays anyways. Still, if you have an iPhone and some money to burn, the Series 4 is a very good pickup, and it'll look great on your wrist. The iPhone XS and XS Max also came out in September, and weren't quite as much of a change as the Apple Watch. It's an incremental S-line upgrade, and it's fine. It's not much better than the 10, but it is better, and at least now we have a bigger size option, which is great. The camera is also significantly improved here, and is probably the best overall camera on the market. Hold up before you start commenting the Pixel is better or whatever. Keep in mind I said the best overall camera. Pictures are so subjective, and they're really hard to judge, but taking video into account, nobody even comes close to Apple in that department, especially the Pixel 3. It's awful for video. So I think overall it's the most balanced, but I mean, you do you, whichever camera you like the best, get that phone. That's up to you. Anyway, hopefully saved a few dislikes there. Regardless of all this, the iPhone XS wasn't exciting. I bought it because I'm a sucker, but if you had an iPhone X, there was really no point of getting the XS. It's a great phone, just not a big upgrade. A month later in October, the iPhone XR was released, and this phone is much more exciting. It's a bit worse than the XS with a lower quality display and only one camera lens, but it's also $250 cheaper and comes with a lot of great color options. I like the XR a lot, and I think it's the iPhone to buy for basically everybody right now. Apple nailed this phone this year, although I wish it was a bit cheaper. Fast forwarding to November, we have a few new releases, but let's start with the Mac Mini. It desperately needed an upgrade, and it got one. And it's okay, I guess. It looks a bit better, but they raised the price a bit, and $800 for an i3 computer is, in my opinion, really hard to get on board with. I know it's a quad-core i3 for what it's worth, and it is fairly speedy, definitely enough for the average person, but it also only has 128 gigabytes of storage on the base model, and, well, I think this loadout is fine for a base model Mac Mini, but I wish the price still started at $600. That would have made a lot more sense. This year's Mac Mini is fine, but it could have been priced lower. This is kind of a trend that you might be noticing with a lot of these new products. The new MacBook Air also finally came out, and it actually seems pretty great. It also suffers from Apple's overpricing issues, but for what you're getting here, the Air is a really good option for anyone that needs an Ultrabook and not a whole lot of power. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it over the baseline MacBook Pro, but if you want the best possible thin and light laptop out there, the MacBook Air is a solid option, assuming you can stomach the price tag. The iPad Pro also came out in November, and in my opinion is probably Apple's best product of the bunch for the year. It reduced the bezel significantly and dropped the home button and looks amazing. It brings a much better magnetic Apple Pencil, which is awesome, as well as Face ID, which I think makes sense on a tablet like this. The iPad Pro is also really good, and if you've been watching Jonathan Morrison as of late, you'd be able to see some of the amazing things that it can do. I'd say Apple nailed the iPad Pro this year, and this is easily their biggest highlight of 2018 as far as I'm concerned. And so those are the mainline entries from Apple that I can think of that happened this whole year. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. I'm sure I did, and I'm also sure that you guys will let me know. Most of this was all well and good, albeit overpriced, but there were a few things I really would have liked to see this year that we didn't. Firstly, new AirPods. Rumors keep saying that they're right on the horizon and will be bringing wireless charging among a couple other minor things, but they haven't come out yet, and I have no idea when they will. Hopefully soon, but in all fairness, the current AirPods are still great, and I'd fully recommend picking them up. AirPower hasn't even been mentioned this year, which is a bit odd. I really hope Apple hasn't scrapped it altogether, as it was pretty darn cool, but I guess we'll find out in 2019. There wasn't a new iPad Mini or iPod Touch, which isn't particularly unexpected, but still a bit disappointing. I believe both of these devices were last refreshed in 2015, but are still being sold for full price. Apple, just keep them looking the same and update the internals. We don't need a redesign, and it would help justify the price tag, as there's no real reason to keep them where they are right now. I mean, they both have the same processor as the iPhone 6. It's just ridiculous. There was no iPhone SE 2, despite a lot of us expecting one, and some of us still expecting one. I suppose the XR is kind of its spiritual successor, but for those who really want more compact smartphones, this sucks. Maybe we'll see one day, but I kind of doubt it, as we all thought we would this year and we didn't. You never know. But hey, at least we got that first SE. That phone was already pretty out of Apple's character, considering that it was actually a good value, and yeah. We also didn't see a refresh to the regular MacBook this year, and with the new Air out, it kind of leaves it in a really strange place. Either Apple needs to update it or just drop it in 2019. I guess we'll see what happens. All in all, Apple has had actually a pretty good year for new products all across the board, except for maybe the XS, but I'd give them a pass considering how big the 10 was last year. I think there's a pretty common trend with all their new releases, and it's something we've been seeing constantly in the past. Reviewers saying the product is really great, one of the best of its kind, but overpriced. If Apple could just value things a bit better, I really think it would help them, but it looks like we're going in the opposite direction from that, unfortunately. Regardless, it's hard to argue that Apple doesn't innovate anymore with the new iPad Pro and Apple Watch, and hopefully we see some even better stuff next year. So in summary, I think Apple had a pretty good year, although maybe not a great one. It was certainly above average for them though, at least in terms of new products, and I'm curious to see what's next on the horizon. But what did you think think of Apple in 2018. Do you like the new products, or do you think that the overpricing is ruining Apple? Let me know in the comments down below. This might be a bit of a controversial subject, so I'm curious to see what you all think. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. Make sure you go check out Dr. Phone. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this video. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at 91_tech for more of my irrelevant opinions. And with that all being said, I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.